My name is Parker.
And my name is Ned.
And this is The Force Unlimited, yet another Star Wars Unlimited podcast. This is episode number 52, Pickup. We are recording on February 21st. We hope you had a wonderful Valentine's Day. We still have not heard if Baton is getting to design a card for Galactic. So I was kind of hoping we'd hear that this weekend at Sectors, but no. I continue holding out hope. Tonight's beer is a Fort George City of Dreams, my second favorite beer from my favorite brewery. Ned, you told me you brought a beverage tonight.
I did. I'm tired of being left out. I brought the Zoigl Hell. It's really important that you read the whole label because my wife saw these in the fridge and she thought that there were another word that started with Z and ended with kind of an H-E German thing.
But no. So first, let's hold off on the match we just played because
it was a good
A Lawless Time previews are all done, and as is often the case with our Vows episode, this is a Vows episode, dear listener. I can't imagine you're just tuning in for your first Vows episode. This is where Ned and I list 4 decks we are super hyped about. It is our one little indulgence into just general hype as opposed to analysis. But as with any marriage, you have to constantly be investing energy into your marriage. Don't coast. And so Ned and I have been doing this for a while. So our fake marriage necessitates fake romance. So I've shown up with new analysis of A Lawless Time for Ned. But first, the traditional easy analysis that I do is the average word count. We have a complete total of A Lawless Time, and I want to know where it fell. And this is this makes me pumped. It is the third wordiest set by average, excluding leaders. And it is so. Jump to Lightspeed and Shadows of the Galaxy were both up in the 16 and change average word per card, which makes sense because they both had kind of wordy mechanics that beget more mechanics. So you have bounties, and then you had all the piloting stuff piloting just throws it for a loop because so many cards, there's almost no cards in Jump to Lightspeed that only have one word, the keyword. So many cards in every other set have like ambush or something, but all of the cards in Jump to Lightspeed have ambush twice or restore twice because
as the pilot
the pilot and as the regular card. So it makes sense that Jump to Lightspeed would be way up at the top, and then Shadows of the Galaxy right behind. Everything else is in 14 and change on the average, and A Lawless Time comes in at 14.96 words per card, which I find a little bit wild. None of the mechanics are super wordy. There's nothing like Shadows. There's nothing like Jump to Lightspeed, but you do have like a lot of references to credit, which I think just pulls up that average. There's a lot of very simple mechanics that rely on credits, and also my instinct is that has to do with the multi-aspect cards getting to do more, right? If we assume that we have our first 3-aspect cards, we have some examples of 3-aspect cards that are just like pure beef, but most of them tend to be richer because, as noted last time in our discussion of color wheels, you have to be able to grab some stuff. So
the French vanillas tend to have 2 mechanics rather than just 1.
If you really care about the numbers, I'm overlaying it right now in YouTube, but dear listener in your car, you don't care. Everything that's not Jump to Lightspeed or Shadows is 14 and change, but Lawless Time, 14.96, almost cracking 15 words per card. But I've got a new metric to evaluate Star Wars Unlimited sets. And all week I've been thinking about this, Ned, and I really wanted to name this the Dexter Jetster score or the Dexter Jetster rating of a set, but that's terrible. I'm sorry. I know you are dibsing that character, Jack, whenever he is previewed, but I don't want to say Dexter Jetster rating all night. I don't know if it was
that's
his
a mouthful.
I don't know if it was his parents who hated him or George Lucas, but I don't want to say that name all night. So instead, I'm calling it the Force Unlimited Glup Shido Index, or F.U.G.S.I. And so this is a F.U.G.S.I wedding. I think you would agree.
Yes.
So the F.U.G.S.I, or the F.U.G.S Index, is the number of new named unique cards in a set. Only counting leaders and units. I'm not counting lightsabers. The fact that those are unique. So this is a measurement of, because I love this game with all of my heart. This is actually my favorite part of Star Wars, because I mean, that's more that everything else ranks lower than Star Wars Unlimited ranks higher. But this is my favorite Star Wars thing, and I love this game mechanically. And my slights, my petty angers against this game are short. But the article Tyler wrote, and I'm not blaming Tyler, the article Tyler wrote about how, like, their things they've learned is put in more of the main characters again.
Yep.
Rage,
I mean, that's
like
drag
the
that
clue
F.U.G.S.I down. Yeah.
Like Clue, like flames on my cheek, fire. And I don't blame Fantasy Flight for this, right? Like, they got to follow marketing, they got to follow people with how do people spend money. It's just humanity who is dumb, and I hate it. So I decided, you know what? I was thinking about this a few weeks ago. Let's start tracking it. So, introducing the Force Unlimited Glub Shido Index, F.U.G.S.I. Now, obviously, this will shock you not at all. Spark of Rebellion comes in at the highest, because
it's the first Luke, it's the first Chewie, it's the first Han.
Everything's inherently new. Every single unique named card is new. And to that point, some caveats. I am aliasing a couple cards. So Palpatine only counts once across his various 3 names. Darth Sidious, Emperor, Chancellor Palpatine are all just one character. Maul, one character. Dooku, one character. However,
Darth Vader and Anakin.
I'm counting as separate characters, and that's contentious. And if you hate it, then just lower Twilight of the Republic's F.U.G.S.I by 1. Its F.U.G.S index is 1 lower because Anakin's a repeat. But the amount of sequel I was thinking of to accommodate just the Anakin was non-trivial, and I'm standing by it. So Spark of Rebellion, 73 F.U.G.S.I. The F.U.G.S index for Shadow of the Galaxy, surprisingly, at 70, but that kind of makes sense because it went to the other half of Star Wars. You had Force and Rebellion, and then so Shadow was the criminal element, and still early enough that almost every character, first time we heard about Cad Bane, first time we heard about all those.
Can you remind me, Cad Bane?
No. You rotated out, Ned. We're not doing the bit anymore. Everybody knows who Cad Bane is. It's been 2 years. Also, so then Twilight Republic drops down to a F.U.G.S index of 53, which seems low given. But then I realized how many of the cards there just aren't as many unique cards. There's just so many clones and clone thingies. Jump to light speed, not surprising, and I'll come back to this, 51. F.U.G.S index of 51, which makes sense because the whole theme of Jump to light speed was the characters you know and love in space. So it's just so many characters. Hera, again. Cassian Andor, again. Obviously Luke and Darth, again, but in space. So that's kind of whatever. They're pilots now. That's great. It had a ton of repeat characters. Legends of the Force comes back up to 59 F.U.G.S index, which makes sense. There's a lot of High Republic characters to pull from, so even though you're doing a lot of repeats in the Yodas and the Mace Windus, you just have an entire corner of Star Wars that has barely been touched in most games, but certainly not touched in Star Wars Unlimited. Then you drop down to 51 again for Secrets of Power. Similar, I don't have an explanation for that one. But the one that kills me, and I'm actually really high on A Lawless Time, but this is one metric in which it is, I'm just going to say it now, spoiler alert, it's terrible. A Lawless Time is a F.U.G.S index. Its F.U.G.S is 36.
Whoa!
It is all repeats. And I'm going to be very curious to see how it goes into
Ashes?
Summer and into Ashes and into Homeworlds, because the theme of A Lawless Time is it's all the characters you know and love in 3 colors, in 2 colors. So it's just like, oh, we're reprinting these characters again, but look, the twist is that now Han is more colors,
blue, green.
So I kind of wonder with rotation if the March sets are always going to have a low F.U.G.S, like if just you got to guarantee certain characters are always in rotation.
Yeah. I participate in the PDX leader pool, and I definitely put a lot of stock into. Okay, we're gonna need a Chewie. We're gonna need a Luke. We're gonna need like a non-pilot Luke. We're
How'd
gonna
you
need a
do?
Han. I did okay. I did okay. I had a lot of misses because I'm not very well versed in the things that are now the majority of Star Wars.
I was about to say in Star Wars, Ned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair.
So,
Yep.
yeah,
I
every
did get
year I
Sebulba,
want to
though,
do that.
so I feel good about
And
that.
say again.
I did get Sebulba though, so I feel good about that.
That you, yeah, that's
Yeah.
those are points. So that was kind of that is a not surprising letdown, but to really kind of, I think, I mean, that number feels low, but to really highlight it, and I think the second axis of the F.U.G.S index of F.U.G.S.I that will be interesting to watch in future sets is the leader only F.U.G.S I score.
Ooh.
So again, every set is, we'll have to do weighting, or I'll talk to Ned about the math if we ever have non-18 leaders. But once again, we have 18 leaders. Exciting. Finally have Saw Gerrera. I'm kind of shocked it took till 7 to get Saw as a leader. So Spark of Rebellion, no shock, 18. Shadows of the Galaxy dropping down to 16. And that was because we had Han again, and we had Boba again. So those were our 2 repeats. And we jumped back up to 18 in Twilight of the Republic because it's a lot of repeat characters, but their first time as a leader.
Right.
And then we dropped down to 11, and 13 for Jump to Lightspeed, Legends of the Force. Secrets of Power coming back up again. A lot of those characters that have appeared but haven't really been leaders because now we're in like a political context. Ned, would you care to guess the leader F.U.G.S I for A Lawless Time?
I think it's like 4 or 5.
It is 8.
8.
But that's still rough. I mean, this is the first time, and I've only been tracking the F.U.G.S I for a couple days, but this is the first time that a set's F.U.G.S I has dropped below half. So over half the leaders in A Lawless Time are repeats, which really guarantees that if you're attached to a major character, if your whole Star Wars identity is that Han Solo is cool, not taking shots at a golden dice, then then you want to make sure that Han Solo's all there and you're really excited and you have multiple options, and somebody's going to come up with a 3-leader format, and then or you can play like an all 8 Han Twin Suns game. Sure, great, like that's delightful. But if your joy is seeing, we've talked about the Jace Windu problem in Magic. I have to wonder how many. Like it's got to get painful to be like coming up with the subtitle for a popular but not talkative character like Boba Fett. Han Solo's chatty, right? That's fine.
He's got lots of quips you can mine.
Yeah, but Boba Fett does not. So how he's actually surprisingly not in proper media a ton for as cool and popular as he is. And I'm very curious, poor Fantasy Flight, like on their 19th iteration of Boba Fett, how do they come up with a new subtitle? This pivot that they've made starting feels felt to me, feels like it exists, makes me sad, but the proof will be, I think, in Ashes and Homeworld.
Yes.
So. Anyways, that's my gift to you, Ned, on this.
Beautiful. I love this.
Our vows. Dear listener, something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue. Ned, who is the old leader, a non-Lawless Time leader that you are excited to take for a spin?
Okay, so I want to start off by saying, now that there's a distinction between Premier and Eternal formats, I'm talking about Premier. So we might revisit.
I think that's I think that was assumed, but just so we're clear, yeah.
So
don't get me wrong. Twilight is our trilogy is a real format. We love our Twin Suns. We're talking about just casual kitchen table. Let's get our sets down to the locals. Premier.
So old. Luthen Yellow. Wait, don't go. It's different this time. It's different this time. It's gonna work this time. So the Celestin Sapper and Sabine Wren Spectre 5 were kind of the inspirations to revisit this, because these are both like solid ambush units, relatively low on the cost curve, that will tend to trade and therefore trigger Luthen's ability, which I think is really important. Flash the Vents was, I think, intended for Saw, but works very well for Luthen to get those extra points of damage across and ensuring that your unit dies. Like, If you're doing it on the 3-cost rebel that can kill itself to deal an extra 3 points to your opponent's base when it deals base damage, you're looking at like 8 points in a single attack, which is not nothing. And then our spoiler card.
Yes, our spoiler card.
Is just an enormous whack of damage, and having hidden means that you're very likely to be able to point those 6 points of damage at something where you can be realizing advantage.
What do you think the odds? Are you playing this on curve? Like, what do you think the odds? Since you want him to die, what are the odds that your opponent's playing with something that's going to do 4 that needs the 6 health on resource 5?
I think it's more likely than you think. There's a lot of leaders that are on the
Flip
order
5.
of Some of them are 3/6s. Some of them are a little bit better statted. You might not be able to get the full value trade, but just being able to point 6 damage at something is generally on resource 5 is generally quite good. I think the weakness of this is going to be ground sentinels. There's an awful lot of good ground sentinels that are still around, and this deck outside of Commence the Festivities does not have a huge number of ways to get around beefy ground sentinels, although I tried to have a pretty reasonable space package in there.
I'm not looking forward to this against you, but I commend you on attempting to make Luthen work again.
I think it's very likely that Saw is just going to end up being better, a better version of Luthen, but we'll see. I like Luthen better than Saw.
Yeah. My something old is also a red leader from the same set, Dedra Miro, and Dedra Control. I'm excited to get this deck to the table in that moment when aggro starts waning, but before and enjoy it for about 2 weeks before I realize I'm not high enough skill level for a pure control deck. This feels like some of the most pure control we've seen in Star Wars Unlimited. Some of the lists I've been seeing have fewer than on the order of 6 to 8 non-end game units, like say 7 resources or less. It's like all the single target removal, all the group removal, and most of it is just sadder.
Gosh.
It's a lot out the airlock, and you're like, main decking 3 of those. But again, the whole meta is going to be a little weirder, a little rougher in March, and you get the top end of Dear God, Single Reactor, Ignition, Lawbringer, and Persecutor. Single Reactor Ignition alone, the opportunity to play a Super Laser Blast that not only Super Laser Blast was fantastic, but then on the rider of like the order of 3 to 6, 8 damage sounds delicious. I feel like that's going to be some huge. That's a card that just across the board is going to lead to some huge swings, because it really penalizes you for having token decks. There's a lot of people talking about Darth Vader, Victor Squadron Leader making a comeback, and I'm just like, man. To be honest, if somebody's dropping an 8 resource card and you haven't won as Victor Squadron Leader, you've lost. But
yes. But no, being able to simultaneously shut down your opponent and turn the corner pretty quickly, I think, is one of the big advantages of this.
And Lawbringer sounds delightful. Persecutor is kind of insane. And then, I've been running it with Devastator. Also great. Who doesn't love a lot of discussing indirect damage? But no, I'm that's probably the first deck I'm sleeving, just because as soon as the game gets competitive, as soon as the meta starts stabilizing, I won't be able to play a real control deck. I'm not that good, but I want to try before I have to pivot to my late game mid range. Speaking of late game mid range, Ned, I hope this segue worked. It might not have.
Oh no, absolutely.
What new deck are you excited to play?
Vader Blue. So it's Talzin blue or Talzin red, but with a better top end, right? Like one of the problems I had piloting that deck, obviously other people piloted it better than I did, but is that at 6 resources you kind of don't have anything to do, right? Like you had Anakin, Champion of Mortis, who was really good, but it wasn't really closing out the game. You're not, and with the Talzin deck, you were solidly in the like faster mid range. So with Vader Blue, instead of having Talzin, you have Vader, and Vader can, as our games proved out, close the game real fast.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's circle back around to your deck because it'll
Yeah.
become very relevant momentarily. My something new is Enfys Nest, and so we can go
Yes.
higher in Canto Bite. The reason I'm excited to play this deck is actually because I think Tactical Heavy Bomber, I love that card so
Love
much.
that card.
And it never
Yeah.
really took off. And I'm hoping Enfys can make a 3/5 indirect 6 or more on turn 4 seems in space seems nice. So net in my match was Enfys Nest versus New Vader, and they were all close games. I feel like those games were 3 games were mostly decided by our inexperience piloting the decks.
Yes.
Tell me how they went, Ned. You won.
So game 1 was pretty tight up until the end. I think I made a misplay, and you were just able to race me down really fast. Like the Tactical Heavy Bomber combined with leaving Enfys Nest on the board was just a huge amount of damage, and either I could wipe my whole board or I could have a chance at maybe stabilizing, and I just couldn't quite kill your space units fast enough to be able to do that. So you took game 1. Game 2 was unfortunate, where I think that you maybe had a bad draw or things lined up poorly.
I had a rough draw. Yeah.
Yeah.
Opening with 3 of the Jedi Starfighters, the 1/4 ping 1 in space when you're not running any space.
That's not what you want to be seeing against like a mostly ground-based deck. Talzin's Assassin was basically key to closing out your space units. Like the double Talzin's Assassin, I had just huge ground presence and was able to eat Enfys without too much of a trouble. And so we went on to game 3. Game 3 was very dramatic, where I was able to kind of hold down the ground and do things efficiently, but you were building up like a pretty big space force. You had Ebon Hawk, you had Crazy Colorful, you had Enfys Nest down. I think you got me to like 20 damage off of out of 28.
No, it was you started the turn Vader into aggressive negotiations, and it was one of those. If you earned it, you ended it, and if you hadn't ended it,
I would have lost.
I was going to end it.
Oh no, 110%.
Like, the game was over that turn.
Yeah, I had the reactor ignition to try and reset, but like it was very like having the Vader with the aggressive negotiations and just being able to hit you for what like 20 like 18 19 points of damage in a single hit was. It's got that Kylo blue thing or Kylo green, the Kylo deck that came in second at Worlds, where you're just trying to hold down things until you can get your leader deploy, and then your leader deploy can win very, very fast.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how the meta revolves around that. I mean, because that's a very combo specific deck.
Yes.
And it'll be interesting to see how the meta evolves around it, because it's not like a magical Christmas land. You're guaranteed to have your leader every turn.
Yeah.
And it's not like red blue villainy doesn't have control-y options.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I'm really excited I'm actually considered putting New Vader on the list, less because I'm excited to play him and more because I feel like when he first dropped, some of the reactions were not great. Muted. And then I think as the card pool has shaped out, people are starting to get and I didn't red villainy is not where I usually go, mindful of the fact that I said I'm excited to play Dedra. That's because I think opponent chooses. I like opponent chooses.
Yeah.
Like it's better value. Like doesn't matter, but I think he's yeah, I'm replaying those games over in my head a lot.
Hmm.
So it'll be interesting. Ned, what did you borrow?
From Star Wars, Dad, Blue Chewie. So this is another blue-red deck. This one's in heroism, and this one is kind of wild, where it is an aggro deck, but it is a leader-based aggro deck, where your goal is that you're dropping Chewie on 4 resources, and then you're probably slapping a mastery or some other like pretty good upgrade on him, or just trying to close out the game. Um, you know, being able to deploy a 5/6 unit on resource 4 is pretty good, particularly because it's a leader unit, and the amount of leader removal right now is
Not great.
not great. So you can really get out of hand. I think this, like the Luthen list, has an issue that ground sentinels are going to be troublesome, like Chirrut, Typho. It's, if you can't close things out by resource 6, you're in a world of pain. Um, your ability basically doesn't exist, or you ought to play as if it doesn't exist up through probably about resource 4 once you get Chewie out. And then after that, you're basically turning a card every turn into a daring raid, which is generally pretty good. But, you know, there's an upper limit on how good daring raid can be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. The cost is too much for me.
I hear you on that. Um, I love being able to throw things away creatively.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
a theme for you. Yeah, no, and I think of all 4 lists that you and I brought tonight, your Chewy deck is, or rather, Star Wars Dad's
Yeah.
Chewy deck is the most new cardy.
Yes.
I mean, it's packed to the brim with a lot of new cards, and yeah. I think it's going to be a hoot. This one I'm actually excited to play against, mostly because um, it'll be, it presents a really interesting puzzle of
Yeah.
how do you solve a problem like Maria. How do you solve Chewbacca?
A problem like
Whereas like
Chewbacca.
Vader is less like, because Vader like ends the game in one go,
Yeah.
and he's happening late enough that and red blue villainy tends to be the home of a lot of removal.
Yeah.
Something about red heroism in blue, you're going a little more aggro. It's a more interesting puzzle because the deck actually just runs out of gas.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't usually have to. I can't imagine you're going to win a ton with Chewbacca, but rather you are going to put yourself in a winning position with Chewbacca.
Yeah.
And if you can prevent them from capitalizing on Chewbacca enough, then the game mostly just.
Yeah. You are presenting a really large threat. Your opponent will probably be able to answer it, but the hope is that they're going to, expend enough resources doing that you're like red blue low to the ground hero aggro package can carry you through.
Which
Yeah.
is a thing.
Yeah.
A red blue.
How about you? What did you borrow?
I'm really glad we have before we have some repeat, and I'm almost borrowed from something else from Star Wars Dad, but I'm actually borrowing Saber Fours. Had a great video on a Krennic yellow deck.
Ooh.
Which I had initially kind of discounted Krennic in A Lawless Time, just because we don't get a much of a new package of when defeated.
Yeah.
The amount of when defeated in A Lawless Time's almost like in red green or in green villainy, it's negligible.
Yeah.
It's basically 0. And I was kind of shocked by that. I was kind of caught off guard by that. But Max Rebo is kind of delightful, and it's less about the when defeated and just getting a ton of credits. Green yellow has a decent top end, but it's really the lists I've been seeing are all mid-rangey decks where you got Max Rebuild and the Max Rebuild Band. You got Velsartha. You've got my favorite, Dedra Miro. This is a deck that maybe promises to make use of the Radiant, and you've got that disgusting Krennic unit top end.
Boy.
I'm not. This is a deck that plays Porg, like actually genuinely wants to play Porg, not as a meme, but it's a 0-cost card that essentially is a credit that you can put in your deck in Director Krennic. So, I mean, if you could just put credits in your deck, I think there are plenty of green decks there are plenty of decks, period, that would like to. So Porg and Krennic becomes just a credit. Great. Love it. There's enough goofy stuff in this deck. I just have never come around to plot. So, I feel like there are a couple of those big armor cards, that people keep using. Sure. 3/3 on the flip, or 2/2 on the flip rather.
Yep.
Sure. I'll try the deck out as listed, but I've put the card face down. I've forgotten about it. I don't want to actually it's gone. It's dead to me. I'm not gonna. And if I remember it, I'm gonna remember to turn late. Like Smuggle, I'll remember. Oh yeah, I have this thing I could totally do. But plot, you got to remember it on your flip turn. There's just enough good little stuff in this, and it's rare that I find yellow decks that I'm super pumped about. And the fact that A Lawless Time has so much yellow that I'm curious about exploring is...
I definitely think they went to an interesting place with yellow. I feel sad that I didn't do much with my yellow, but...
Well, I mean, it's possible that... I mean, so yellow's identity has historically just been jank.
Yes.
Right? Which is your
jank and
thing.
Bounty hunters.
Jank and bounty hunters. At least one of those things is your thing.
Yes.
Get to do everything if you jump through hoops is an identity. You run the risk of the hoop being too big or too small, or too easy or too hard to jump through. But it makes sense. I have been wondering, I've kind of had this inkling feeling that, it's interesting to look at like Rosewater's pie breakdowns over the years.
Yeah. As
what defines Magic has grown and shifted.
Yes.
Color, there's tons of examples of cards that have things that are out of color in Magic, not counting the first few sets where they didn't understand what anything was,
and not counting Planar Chaos either, where it was just let's deliberately make things that are out of color pie.
Sure.
For a laugh.
But just straight up, there are cards that at the time it was in color.
Yes.
And that the pie has shifted. And I wonder if we're starting to see Star Wars Unlimited's kind of design space get rich enough and its design team get mature enough, but also bringing an insight that yellow might be forging some identity of its own that is not just everybody else's identity with hoops. Yeah. And I understand that, and you're doing your pie series.
Yeah.
There are keywords that are in yellow, but like...
Yeah, no. Like the mechanically unique effects that you tend to see in yellow tend to be, up until recently, and I would call out The Stranger as being one that has like a mechanically unique effect in yellow that is weird and good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and that goes to this idea that it's a 3-color card.
Right.
No, but I wonder, like, so we've got indirect damage was not something that existed in Spark, but is a capture was not something that exists in Spark, both of which are essentially evergreen. We've got credits, which makes sense in yellow, and I think credits are a Lawless Times thing, and I mean, given that they necessitate a token, I don't think we'll see them, but I can imagine them being deciduous.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
They're the better form of ramp, a safer form of ramp. Yes. It would be surprising to me if you didn't see it return. Yeah. Anyways, so really excited to see all the yellow and Saber 4. Shout out, great deck and a great deck video. Now we get to the fun part of the evening, something Ned and I have usually tried to go out of our way to do, and Ned actually reached out and said, "Should we avoid doing this?" And I actually said, "No, let's try to do it, see what happens." So bear with us, dear listener. Ned, who did you bring as your something blue?
I brought Agent Callus.
Ah, I also brought Agent
I
Callus.
know, it's remarkable.
I am very excited to play Agent Callus in A Lawless Time. Probably the leader I am most hyped on. Are you excited to play Agent Callus in, Ned?
I am playing Agent Callus with a yellow force base.
So tell me about that deck.
Okay, so originally I had this in the red force base, but I was looking and I was thinking, and I realized you're not getting a lot out of the red force base. Because Callus's ability means that all of your top end units you can just play off color. You're really only caring about on color stuff when you are very tight on resources. And I thought about single reactor ignition as being enough to keep me in red, but I realized that that's not really the game plan for Callus, right? You're not trying to play this kind of hard control style, keep the board clear. You're trying to just, in the words of you, play slabs of beef and turn them sideways. Like, you get to play Anakin Skywalker, Champion of Mortis, in a deck that naturally runs both good hero force cards and good villain force cards. You're getting to run Darth Vader, Twilight of the Apprentice, the monster that, like, I'm still having nightmares about getting ECL'd into me, and you get to Shane Flurry it. And then you also have Maul, Master of the Shadow Collective, which is an absolute house that you can Shane Flurry in. Now, you're paying through the nose to do Maul, but that's comes with the territory. At the point you're Shane Flurrying Maul, then that's fine. You get to play Kelleran Beck. You get to play Yoda, my ally is the Force. You get to play Mace Windu, the Force Mace Windu. You get to play Kiadi Mundi. So it's basically just a murderer's row of all of the good cards, as long as you're willing to play slightly off curve in the hero side. And because you're in blue villainy force, basically your 2, 3, and 4 resource turns are going to be pretty similar, where you're going to be running like a 2-cost force unit, and then like ideally a 3-cost force unit. Your 3-cost force unit, like Shin Hati, is less good in my opinion than the Grand Inquisitor, but not like significantly less good. And then you've got the main reason for running a blue force-based deck, which is Shatterpoint is the is the absolute, as long as you're running a force base, best currently existing single target removal option.
Yeah, I've been tinkering with my Dead Ramiro deck, not in force, still running Shatterpoint, just because we're so hard up for targeted removal.
It is a rough scene.
So, yeah, I find that actually really compelling.
Yeah.
But I went with Agent Callus in blue. And
or in red,
the
rather.
reason that I did that, let me grab my notes, is because, we'll come back to this. I actually seriously considered picking Aura Singh as the blue leader I was most excited about. I chose Agent Callus because a competitive, viable leader who gets better in limited is probably a great one to be favoriting and getting comfortable with, because like you're just more likely to be running. He'll get even more value in a limited environment than than he will in a non-limited environment. You've said most of what I've said, that just Anakin on lock feels really nice.
Yeah.
So I put him in red just because you've got you can actually afford to play with backups later on in the game of so many of the kind of classic. I mean, the red heroism force package is kind of gross. The heroism force package has a lot of great healing, which just pairs with his healing.
Yep.
You've got Yaddle and Adigalia. Playing them for 3 doesn't. I mean, I hear you that you want to be playing at the early game, but maximizing the value like kind of out of the gate of getting these like rock salt, like playing, like I feel like in blue you're playing blue villain, you're playing a lot of heroism or a lot of force that kind of sucks
Yeah.
to because like to get the force, like the absolute beaters in the like 2 and 3 are in heroism.
Yes.
And so in force
Yes.
and playing what I mean, there's the I'm blanking on the name. The 2/4 force guy who's just force. That's
Oh yeah,
in villainy.
Treus Acolyte.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
No, I.
you would never run that in heroism because you're stacked in the 2/4 force.
Oh yeah, no, you have so many better options. Like the only thing
Right.
going for Treus Acolyte is the Sith keyword, and that's because there are 2 completely bonkers Sith related cards. So there are always 2, and Darth Revan's lightsabers, and so they have to be insanely careful about printing good low cost, particularly unique Sith units.
Right. Whereas, so for me, early on in a blue red package where I'm running enough like villainy, I don't feel bad about paying 3 for cards that heal. I don't Kiadi Mundi for 5 doesn't feel bad.
No, I played Kiadi Mundi for 6.
Yeah, right. So
Yeah.
like I think you get to a place where you are willing to pay the 1 extra cost pretty fast.
Yeah.
In red. If you're in
Yes.
red, I mean, obviously, once you get up to like 6-7 resources, then like, and I think it's just the 3 costs. It's one thing when you're just like, it'd be curious to know how playable Callus could be if it was just reduce the out of aspect penalty to 1. But the fact that
Yes.
it's 1 and once you pay that entry, you're just
It's free, right?
everything's free. So you can just be playing 3, heroism and 2 aspects that you're
Heroism
not
blue
playing.
green,
And just,
or
yeah.
heroism green yellow in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious
Yeah.
to see, next set when we have the return of double aspect, because I mean this set doesn't have double
There are no
aspect
like red
cards.
red. Yeah.
No red, and like, do we see some return of that with, how playable are those in Callus? Because especially it's fascinating to me that all of the Callus decks I've seen, everybody, it leans into the heroism because you want that heal on the flip turn,
Right.
or not flip turn, but just when he's flipped.
Right.
It's very, I don't know. It's a deck that I think is going to be top. The shape of it is going to be. I do think it's going to be, and I'm probably guilty of this. People are going to be too guilty or greedy.
Oh, 100. Like, Callus is unfortunately a deck where the instant you look at it, your brain immediately goes to the most good stuff slop pile style of deck, where it's like, oh, that's a good card. I should put that in, because
Yeah.
you're not having to think about aspects, right?
And I honestly, my fear is that the top decks are going to be some blue villainy package where any card 5 or fewer resources is just on aspect.
Yeah.
And then it's just you just get the heroism top end.
All
the heroism top end becomes pay 1.
I feel like that is the way to build Callus, is that...
Right. Well, I'm just saying it won't be like a variety of cards. It's just going to be the top end. And it's just going to be, Yoda and...
Color and back, and
Color and back, and
all
it's just gonna be-
all the monsters. Yeah.
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 I didn't see very many lists that run anything that's not a unit, which I find fascinating. Like, it's overwhelmingly units.
I think that there's not a lot of, at least currently, there's not a lot of really compelling out of aspect events, right? Like, there's not an overwhelming barrage equivalent. I mean, there is an overwhelming barrage equivalent. There are in fact 2 of them, but neither of them is sufficiently compelling they don't mirror Overwhelming Barrage's ability to basically scythe through 3 or 4 units and stabilize you on your flip turn. Right.
Yeah. I'll be interested because, it'll be interesting to see. You and I both chose Callus in Force, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like you don't actually, Anakin Skywalker doesn't require the Force.
Does not.
And part of me wonders if there's like a blue-green villainy package that just runs that green low to the ground.
Yes.
Because the green villainy package is great at stalling the game.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised neither of us chose that, and specifically that we went with the Force.
Yeah.
So
I for me, it was basically just like Shatterpoint, and then the hero top end. Keller and Beck is really, really good, unsurprisingly. But other things up at that top end tend to be a little Forcey leaning. And then once you start getting into that Force aspect, like...
You might as well commit.
Yeah, you might as well commit. And particularly when you're trying to stall the ground, or you're trying to just stall in blue, the blue villainy Force package is... pretty good. Like I say Force package, but it's basically like Talzin's Assassin, right? Like you're
yeah.
The package is called Talzin's Assassin.
It was compelling. Yeah. So my second choice, Ned, was Sing. Just I don't think she's going to be as good, but I'm excited to try a deck that does such a nice ping for nothing, right?
Yeah.
There's no cost to her ping. It is a hoop you have to jump through, and it's probably going to end up being too narrow a hoop.
Yeah. I mean, that's the challenge, right? Like, that's something that I encountered with Talzin a little bit, is the damage, like, not being able to deal a damage and having to sequence things around that can make for some very tricky puzzles. And I'll be curious to see what Aura lists. I think the Aura is strong enough to be able to hang. It's just going to be interesting to see how you have to structure it so that you're able to actually take advantage of that ability.
I'm high on her because I think she's going to be better than people think, and and my argument in favor of that is that I think people are I don't think people have completely adjusted to the big butt meta. Like, intellectually, yes. Emotionally, I think it's still a transition. That instinctual level of, how likely am I to have a unit with 1 hit point out is higher as the butts get bigger. They just added a hit point to basically, most units. And so you're going to have a lot more 3/3s running into 2/4s and, so forth and surviving. You're going to have a lot fewer clean trades, especially early in the game. And Blue Villain's whole goal is not stick around in the early game. And I'm not as high on her as Callus, but I'm very damage that costs nothing.
There's a reason
it costs an action.
Right. Like, there's a reason why Cad Bane and Quinlan and a bunch of other heroes, a bunch of other leaders have been so dominant, is that it is damage that doesn't cost anything. Right.
And Sing costs an action.
Yes.
Which is not 0.
Right.
But, but I still think I think there's a window where she is, I don't know. Mace Windu saw some play.
Yes.
And I don't I think Sing will see some play. But anyways, Ned, who is your second choice?
My backup was Velsartha Green. And this is, again, in the blue-green heroism pool. I didn't want to pick it for 2 reasons. Number one is that you're leaning really heavily on the kind of heroism green mid-range tools that have been everybody's nightmare for a while. Typho, Amidala, Chewbacca, Blue Leader, that whole package is there, and you get to use it. But the idea is that Velsartha's ability to throw experience for credits is good if you can not let your opponent use the credits. And there's 2 ways for that. Number one is you can just kill him. Just go kill him. Right? And so you've got Amidala, you've got Cassian Andor from Secrets of Power that is quite a good unit if you can throw some experience on them. Cinta Kaz is in this set is an amazing unit if you can throw an experience on her. And then you also have on 3 a bunch of things that are doing the weird thing where you're causing yourself a disadvantage, but then you're negating it in the form of Convey X, Security Captain, Defiant Scrapper. So you can basically, in a perfect world, do the thing on 2, and then if they don't immediately spend the credit, then too bad, you don't get the credit, right? And even if they do get the credit, you can probably line it up where you can give them another credit and then get some value out of it. You also get to theoretically Taramin Barcona is maybe something that can happen. I think that it's a little too cute. But if you're able to turn the credits that you're throwing around into 2 experience tokens because your opponent is sleeping or past turn or whatever, that's a really huge value pile. And then
you don't know this, Ned, but Taramin Barcona's from the same show as Velsartha. So
I did not know that. I mean, it makes sense that they're tagged, they're in together. Yes. Other things, Lats Razzie, I think, is just a good card. It's in the space of units that it's a 3-cost 2/1 that gives itself a shield or an experience and then deals damage equal to its power to another ground unit. So very frequently you're able to just set on 3, set up really good exchanges where if you do a 2/4 into their 2/4 or you're Goongiing into their 2/4, you then immediately get to kill their 2/4 and have a unit with a shield. Or if they do something wacky, then I guess you get to eat. If they played a 2/3, you get to just eat their 2/3.
My whole thought with Vel is it's interesting I assume you're correct that she is a tempo play, but one of the things that appealed to me about her was that as you start getting to the late, the mid to late game, the credit and the experience become, if they're on 7 or 8 resources, what's one, credit, who cares?
Oh, no, absolutely. Yeah.
Whereas your mid-range beef getting +1/+1 is immediately valuable.
110%. I mean, I think that you are making a gamble with Vel. I think it's a really interesting design. I'm just curious if the gamble will pay off often enough or whether you will find yourself tripping over your own feet.
Yeah, well, time will tell. But we both ended up choosing Agent Callus, and that's just people want to play cards off aspect.
Yeah.
I mean, secretly, everybody's a heroism player.
Disagree.
That's my takeaway. Ned, do you have any takeaways?
I do, and that is this was a set where I really wished I could have picked more new leaders for, which is an exciting place to be. Where Saw, the client, even Tobias is just so weird.
I was a little bummed that neither you nor I chose the 2 multicolor leaders.
I would have chosen Saw. If I could have chosen Saw as old, I would have picked Saw, but I couldn't, so I didn't. And I rather would talk about Vader Blue. Yeah.
4 months from now, spoiler. Yep, that's it, dear listener. This, again, February 21st, episode 52, a F.U.G.S.I wedding. And thank you for joining us. I look forward to doing this with you again in 4 months, Ned. Lawless Time is great. Or just rotation is great. Lawless Time is great. The combined is just... All right, dear listener, we'll see you in a few weeks.